Continue to be one of the big stories in this offseason. They agreed to terms with Emmanuel Mudiay and Jeff Green on one-year deals. A lot of people really like Utah as a sneaky and maybe not even that sneaky big team next year. Willie Cauley-Stein signs with the Warriors. It's a nice pickup for them. Cauley-Stein averaged a career-high 8 rebounds last year. He started 81 games for an improving Sacramento team. And as we discussed earlier, Jared Dudley agreed to a one-year deal with the Lakers. He will be another veteran voice for that team now entering his 13th season. So how's this for a number? According to SpotRack, there has been over $3 billion spent in NBA free agency so far. It includes $2.7 billion in guaranteed money alone. The Nets have been the biggest spenders. No surprise there, shelling out nearly $358 million in total value. But not all money is well spent. Let me bring Bobby Marks back into the program on that thought. And let's do this. Give us a couple of deals that we have seen made that you are particularly high on, money that you think was well spent.
Well, Greeny, I think it's two deals that occurred yesterday. The first one would be Willie Cauley-Stein signing a one-year, $2.2 million contract with Golden State. Here's a player that we projected to make between $10 and $12 million on the open market, was a restricted free agent. Somebody that, he fills a need in Golden State, averaged 12 points, 8 rebounds with the Kings last year, and only missed one game. And I think, the second player is Mr. Minimum, I call him, and that's Jeff Green. This is his third year in a row that he has signed a minimum contract, a veteran that Utah needed, 1 year, $2.5 million contract for the Jazz. Another position of need. They, after they traded Derek Favors, there was a need at power forward here, and he is probably, with Bojan Bogdanovic and Mike Conley and Ed Davis, he's their fourth big addition there.
All right, so sneaky big moves that you like. How about the other side? How about a couple of deals where you did not think the money was well spent?
Well, the first one is Terry Rozier in Charlotte. 3 years, $58 million. You're paying Rozier starter money for a player that, is he a starter? Is he going to be the Terry Rozier that we saw in the 2018 playoffs? Or is he the Terry Rozier that we saw last year that really was inconsistent? And I think for a player that, has never shot better than 40% or averaged 3 assists per game, that I think he's going to struggle. The second player is Al Horford. 4 years, $109 million. It's not about the first and second year, and I think Al Horford is a really good player. It's the back end of this contract in years 3 and 4 when Horford will be 35 and 36 years old, and you're paying him $25 to $26 million. That's more of my concern, not the front end, but years 3 and 4 here.
Yeah, Bob, it's an interesting point. The Sixers sort of loading up as they did last season, trying to make a run at it right now. First 2 years of that deal might look good, and as you say, the next two may not be so good. Bobby, well done. Great to see you, as always. Meanwhile, Tim Bontemps covered those teams, the Sixers and Celtics this year. Laura, take it from there.
Yeah, so let's start with the Sixers' perspective on Al Horford's contract. What do you think about that with the structure that Bobby just illustrated there?
Well, Laura, Bobby was right. The back end of that deal is not going to probably look great, right? You're talking about Al Horford's 36 and 37-year-old seasons. Probably not going to be good. But the Sixers are only worried about today. Elton Brand, back in February after trading for Tobias Harris, traded for Jimmy Butler, declared that the Sixers' window to win was right now. And this is a move that's a right-now move. To swap out Jimmy Butler for Al Horford is a move that's designed for this team to win a championship this year or next year. You don't do that to win in years 3 or 4. And if they do get a title, say in 2020 or 2021, the back end of that contract won't matter at all.
Yeah, the one thing I really like about Horford to the Sixers is people did question Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons' maturity during the playoffs this year. Al Horford's going to bring some leadership to the table, too, that, to your point, immediately could have an effect. How about the Celtics side with Horford sending him off to the Sixers?
For the same reasons that Bobby didn't like the deal for Philly, it's the same reason why Boston didn't do the deal, right? If the Celtics had gone to him and said, hey, we'll give you 4 for 110, he probably would have stayed. But when you have a team that's built around Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, two early 20-year-old wings, right? They can go out and get Kemba Walker, a guy that could plug in right now and play. That's a team that could go forward and grow, right, over the next 3 or 4 years. Al Horford's a guy who's ready to win right now. If they had kept Kyrie Irving, had the chance to get Anthony Davis, then they'd have been in the same position Philly's in, and you go pay Al Horford, try to win a championship in 2020. This is a team, while they're going to be competitive, they're not going to be that level of competitive. So I think for them, it made total sense to let Al go somewhere else and build around their younger guys.
So Celtics this season versus last season, you think they're in a better spot with what they've done, the moves they've made?
I don't think they're better overall from a talent perspective, but I think that the way this played out made sense for them. If they could have kept Kyrie Irving, they would have kept Al Horford. They would have gone and got Anthony Davis. Because Kyrie Irving was leaving, it didn't make sense to pay Al out, and therefore getting Kemba Walker and plugging him in with these younger guys, having Gordon Hayward there, you can kind of grow forward with this group in a way they couldn't otherwise.
All right, Greeny, what do you guys think?
Well, I think there's a couple of different ways to look at this. Thank you with that. And RJ, I want to start on the notion of Gordon Hayward. If you look back when Paul George suffered a similar injury to the one Hayward had 2 years ago, it took him a full year to really recover from that. He came back and played, but he wasn't Paul George again for about a year. And then this past year, he was an MVP caliber player. So at his apex, what is Hayward? We've never seen Hayward as a Celtic. He played less than one game before he broke that leg, and last year he clearly was a shell of what we expect him to be.
Let me say this. Gordon Hayward, before he got injured, was one of the probably top 7 two-way players in the NBA. He was a great defender, run down blocks. He can do a lot of things, but it's going to take him, a little. This will help him this year, not having Kyrie, having a more of a natural system. So I think you're going to see a lot of guys be elevated without.
But this is the point that I think people are overlooking. We're thinking of the Gordon Hayward that we saw last year. Erase that from your memory bank. Gordon Hayward is a much better player than that. And if he is one of the top, let's even say 10 two-way players in the NBA, you put that into the mix. You put Kemba Walker into the mix. You take whatever the dynamic that Kyrie created was out of the mix. I firmly believe the Celtics are going to be much better this year and have a legit chance to make a run in the East.
Might have been what I agreed with you most with what you said over there when you were with Richard. You can call me an idiot, and because I think the chemistry is going to be a lot better. I think Gordon Hayward is going to, first of all, he's going to get more than 8 shots a game, which is going to help him offensively, okay? And defensively, if he's able to be close to the player he was in Utah, that's going to help. The other thing I love about the Kemba Walker deal is, and now without Al Horford, you're going to rely a little bit more on those younger components. And we're going to find out whether or not Jason Tatum is truly an all-star capable player. And I think that he is. Wow. And if he becomes that, then this team all of a sudden has very great depth on the wings, and it makes them that much more dangerous.
Well, and also, if we're going to talk about Gordon Hayward and we're going to talk about Paul George, let's also kind of talk about Kevin Durant in the space of like, hey, look, he just tore his Achilles. Yeah. We saw how long it took Paul George. We saw how long it's taken Gordon Hayward to kind of recover. Kevin Durant's not going to be Kevin Durant when he comes back. He's going to be a very, very good player because he's going to have all of that skill set. But these types of injuries take a full year after you've been out for a year.
Yeah, so the Eastern Conference to that point remains kind of open for someone to jump in there with Milwaukee, and we'll see if Toronto loses Kawhi Leonard. Then let me get to the Sixers here, because we were just talking about the acquisition